Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of August 26th through September 1st of 2024. All right, so this week we have Mercury going direct on Wednesday, and so anything that's been on the back burner or we've been reconsidering, rethinking, does start to move forward, giving a little bit of pause on Wednesday with these things, but starting to notice these things likely slowly moving forward around midweek. Now, also midweek, we have a very nice configuration between Venus and the trans-Saturnian planets, the planets after Saturn. It's a kite formation, very much like a grand trine, which is the trine, which is a very supportive energy, but also some sextiles to Neptune with the trine, with the kite as well. So this is all centered around midweek. On Tuesday, Venus will be trining up to spontaneous Uranus. So good to maybe enjoy a bit of change. Some unexpected energy can be quite supportive. On Wednesday, she'll be opposite up to Neptune. Oppositions, things can sometimes go to over and under extremes, but I think it will be quite balanced. But this could be just enjoying things in a healthfully receptive way, making sure we're not getting caught up into any dreams or ideals or escaping or anything like this. So healthy receptivity midweek there. And then Venus will be trining Pluto as well on Thursday. So maybe some depth, some empowerment coming through in those enjoyments and maybe in those relationships as well. So we will be in the third quarter moon this week. Early in the week is really good to challenge ourselves and really implement. I think we'll be willing to implement things this week, and we can even notice some things manifesting, especially in the context of whatever shifted around the last full moon, which was about a week ago. And then the weekends here on with Sunday with Uranus going retrograde. So good to maybe start to reflect on some of those things that can give us a little bit of change, a little bit of spontaneity, a little bit of freedom in our lives. And then we're sort of gearing up for a new moon, which will be very early next week, Monday, Tuesday. So letting the energies die down and getting ready for a reset here during the weekend as well. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, August 26th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. You will notice the sign placements are different. For example, I'm saying that the sun is in Leo right now, but you might be hearing or thinking that it's in Virgo. So if you do notice the signs are different, definitely check out that link down below on using the visible sky called True Sidereal Astrology. All right, so let's go ahead and do a little bit of a recap here. We don't have any sign changes this week, but we did recently have Venus enter Virgo. So Venus is now well set in Virgo. Venus is the planet of enjoyments, of relationships, and fundamentally what we value in life, whether it's the external things or people in those relationships. So who and what we value. And so she's recently come into Virgo, and so it's great to be enjoying a little bit more of improvement, striving towards perfection, getting into the details of things. Now, this is not Venus's most comfortable placement. In fact, considered her most challenging because, you know, the planet of enjoyment and relationships doesn't want to be critiqued, doesn't want to be getting into perfection of the details, just wants to enjoy things. But it can be a very constructive transit. And so in this case, seeing the value of improvement, of self-discipline, of focusing on what we do have control over and letting go of what we don't have control over. So we'll be talking about Venus a lot here today because she is forming this kite formation, which is essentially all the aspects that we have going on this week centered around the Wednesday time period. Now the Sun and Mercury are also well set in Leo, the constellation of self-expression. And so it's been a great time to be focused more on what we love and expressing ourselves. And we are going to be gearing up for that new moon in Leo, which will be Monday and Tuesday of next week there. Mercury going station direct. Maybe we've learned some things about self-expression or about what we enjoy in life in the sense of what we're passionate about, what we love, what we find fun and close to our hearts. And so this has been going through that reworking with Mercury retrograde, which will be shifting forward this week on Wednesday. And Mars is finishing Taurus this week. We'll be going into Gemini next week, or closer to the constellation of Gemini. But here, great to still be taking things slowly and steadily and stopping to smell the roses. Mars, the planet of our actions and our drives, is in grounded, one step at a time, and resourceful Taurus. All right, so that's a sort of a recap of all the placements. Let's go ahead and start here with Monday. So Monday, we are going to be in that third quarter moon. It is the action-oriented phase of the lunar cycle. Well, it's one of the two. The other one is the first quarter. But this one here is the implementation of the full moon's energy. So about a week ago from Monday, we had a full moon, and that's usually where we gain some insights and some new perspectives on our life journey. And then it is the third quarter in which these get implemented. And so we can notice a lot of things manifesting now this phase of the month, and really good to challenge ourselves to implement. In fact, we're usually quite willing to, as the third quarter is a much more willingly action-oriented phase because we've been in the lunar cycle for so long, we're acclimated and used to the energy, we're more willing to do that and much more capable of doing that too. So again, a lot of things manifesting that we want in the context of whatever shifted during the full moon last week. Now, Monday, the moon will be in Taurus, and this will be both Monday and Tuesday. And so this is adding to that grounding energy we're talking about with Mars. So these couple days in particular, good to take things slowly. Taurus, the bull, it's all about connecting to our inner and outer resources of life. So inner resources, self-worth, self-reliance, and external resources like nature, beauty, aesthetics, comforts, luxury, anything that helps ground us in the sensual and material world can be absolutely fantastic. And this is a great placement for the moon to be in, so it can actually be a comfortable placement in general for all of us, just generally speaking, collectively. Now, once we do get into that Tuesday time period, we start to enter into the really strong energy of this kite. So a kite is basically a grand trine, which is the trine is a very supportive aspect, but it's between three planets. And in this case, it's Venus trining Uranus on Tuesday, Venus trining Pluto on Thursday. So two trines from Venus to Uranus and Pluto. And then, of course, that means that Uranus and Pluto are close to a trine. They're not quite trine exactly, but definitely activating this configuration. So all in all, it's a very harmonious, very supportive configuration involving Venus, being that they're trines, and then also that these outer planets are sort of sextile to each other as well. But starting with Tuesday, Venus in good harmony with Uranus can give us a bit of spontaneity. Now again, Venus is the planet of our enjoyments, relationships, and again, fundamentally those values of life. And so great to mix things up a little bit. There can be some support in the air for a little bit of change, experimentation, spontaneity, maybe some things coming out of left field, which could be good to enjoy. So it's not necessarily always all 100% easy. It still requires us to get outside of our comfort zones a little bit. But if we are willing to have some new experiences, some new connections, some new values, this can be a very supportive force here. Now, once we do get into the Wednesday time, Venus will be opposite up to Neptune in the kite formation. Now, oppositions do require balance, but I think it's going to be probably easier to balance in general because of the other supportive elements. But again, Venus not being in the most comfortable placement, we can certainly work on this in a personal development standpoint. And I would say with this one, it's really emphasizing that balance between control and not control. Because again, Venus in Virgo is good for us to control things in the sense of what we actually do have control over, which is really only ourselves and our own personal or immediate environment. But here, Neptune in Pisces reminds us to let go of what's outside of our control, which is everything else and really life in and of itself. So balancing that sort of refinement of Virgo with also receptivity with Neptune. So Neptune and Pisces, to go with the flow a little bit, to be receptive, to trust the life process, and to have a little bit of that faith in life. So that can be a great way of working with it. But again, we do want to find the balance. We don't want to go to either extreme either. We don't want to go too far into the escaping or hiding away or idealistic sort of energies of Neptune and Pisces to that extreme. So maintaining that balance, healthy receptivity, healthy faith and trust in the divine process, healthy letting go of control, and this can all help create a good sense of balance there. And like I said, it's likely going to come through a little bit easier there, but nice to have that balance between that sort of physical life and this and the more soul spiritual guided life as well. Now, I'll talk about Mercury retrograde in just a minute, but finishing up the kite here on Thursday, Venus will be trining Pluto, and this gives us a sense of empowerment with these values and enjoyment. So good to see that there can be some depth, maybe in some of those relationships, some facing fears that can come a little bit easier, and just all in all, enjoying things on a deeper level. And so nice to see that support also. But also very important is Mercury going direct. And so Mercury direct here on Wednesday really starts to move forward a lot of the stuff that's been perhaps either on the back burner, kind of not really in progress or having to be redone or kind of suspended. Usually things start to move forward with these things. So if there's been anything in particular the past 3 weeks that has been on this level for you, again, especially in the context of Leo, which is in the context of things close to our heart and self-expression, we could notice this moving forward. But again, just pausing with it on Wednesday, it's good to let the energies kind of shift themselves, but then start to notice some things slowly starting to move forward with really our day-to-day activities. Mercury retrograde does tend to kind of mix things up and have us really experiment more with our day-to-day things like communications, again, things we're thinking about, and things of this nature just in general. All right, so that's really the concentration of energy this week, all centered around Wednesday. Wednesday, the moon will be in Gemini, same with Thursday as well. So Wednesday, Thursday, themes around that kind of Mercury stuff, communication, learning, exchanging with others, maybe some trade, whether it's ideas or trade or information. But all in all, just being curious, being interested, and being flexible and adaptive, I think, is really what Gemini helps us cultivate. So a little bit of that, again, flexibility, willingness to learn, to be a bit interested, can all be a very supportive force with this kite and with Mercury slowly going direct from Wednesday. All right, and then as we do get into the weekend, the moon will be in Cancer both Friday and Saturday. So that could be good for creating a bit of a protective environment for ourselves and others, a little bit of caring, nurturing, maybe reflecting on the past a little bit, things like that. And that's really what this whole lunar cycle has been emphasizing. We had the last new moon right in between Cancer and Leo. And so this is really finishing up the current lunar month. And then as you can see here, as the moon approaches the sun, we'll have the new moon early next week on Monday and Tuesday. So by the weekend time, good to let the energies die down, complete things, wrap things up from the past, lunar cycle, and slowly creating that space for the new beginnings being planted early next week. And then the last of the events here is that Uranus is going retrograde. We don't usually feel it very personal. It's a very outer planet and it takes a lot of time to kind of for Uranus to sort of build his momentum retrograde. But maybe a little bit of pause with where we can have a little bit more of that change and freedom in our life. We talked earlier about a little bit of spontaneity, a little bit of getting outside of our comfort zone. And so this is perhaps some things to start to reconsider for really the next 6 months. It happens every year for about 6 months, this retrograde. And so maybe starting to pause with these themes around freedom, around change, around spontaneity, around experimentation, as we can then learn a lot really these next 6 months with that. All right, everyone, so that is the week in a nutshell. Most important thing is this kite formation, and I would say Mercury going direct, as well as ending the current lunar cycle. So with the kite, being open to some new experiences, being open to diving deep with things, especially with our enjoyments and our relationships, and just balancing all that out with that healthy receptivity, just not going to either extreme or being mindful of any over or under extremes with receptivity, and that sort of control or physical life, and enjoying things in that healthfully receptive way. Mercury going direct, a bit of pause on Wednesday with some things to start to move forward, and maybe getting some new shifts of insights or new perspectives that can help facilitate that process. And then as the weekends, we end the lunar month, and so ending the lunar cycle, letting the energies die down and creating a little bit of space for the new beginnings around the corner. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you haven't yet gotten your True Sidereal report, there's a link down below for that. It's absolutely free. Just type in your birth details and you'll get your free report on the website for your sun, moon, and ascendant in true sidereal format. But again, have a great one, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.